In the 1970s, giants like Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Artis Gilmore roamed the NBA landscape. But down below the rim, a pint-sized pioneer named Calvin Murphy was forging a place for the little man. He was a 5'9" dynamo who made up for his lack of size with speed, hustle, and heart. And Calvin is in the spotlight this week on Vintage NBA.
2 seconds, 1 second, West throws it up, he makes it!
Now there's a steal by Bird, underneath the DJ, lays it in!
Oh, a spectacular move by Michael Jordan!
Yes, basketball has changed. It's always been a great game, but now it has a new spirit.
He dunks like Dr. J.
He might be the new Iceman.
The modern day Wilt Chamberlain.
He looked like Magic Johnson.
The future has arrived.
You are watching what greatness is all about.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Vintage NBA. I'm Robin Roberts. While shorter players have become commonplace in today's NBA, it was Calvin Murphy who blazed the trail for the little guy. And this week we'll have his story. During his 13-year career, Calvin rose above all expectations and became a hero in Houston, where he was nicknamed the Pocket Rocket. These days, the Rockets have another dynamic guard who's ready to lead them into the future. He's their young star, Steve Francis. And this week, Steve is in the chair with his take on Calvin Murphy.
First, we want everybody to see, the pictures of the Murphster. And on the back, they have different heights. So back here, it says 5'9", 165. And on this side, it says 5'10", 165. But with an afro like that, a mustache like that, and a jump shot that he had, nobody could tell him anything.
Calvin Murphy, he may be at 5'9", the best 5'9" player to ever play this game.
Number 23. That was the number that I wore in college, and I'm always ragging on him about wearing that number. But when I see that number hanging from the banners, it's just like, instant offense.
There's Murphy trying to shake inside.
That's their best bet. Go to the little guy and let him go one-on-one or take whatever he can get.
I mean, Calvin Murphy is, Mr. Rocket. So when I seen the number 23 up there, I respected it 100%.
Murphy, just spectacular.
Calvin's personality is one that, he should be on TV. He's Hollywood.
Spring is here when Calvin Murphy is in the arena. Man, don't fiddle with that knob.
The suits that he wear are unique. Definitely old school, 70s, when he was, the man. So he's keeping the flavor, and he definitely has a lot of style.
That's the kind of suit when you walk in a room, you just start swaying back and forth. You're getting very sleepy.
He got waves in his hair. He got the little M in the front of his head for his headline, but, ain't nothing wrong with that.
Here, Matt, you want to wear it? Thank you,
Drafted number 2 in 1970, similar to me. When I first got here, Calvin was definitely, the first guy to pull me over and say, hey, if you want to be a good point guard or a good guard or a good leader in this league, there's certain things that you need to do.
Steve Francis in the open court. Rockets have the numbers.
The president of the Steve Francis Band Club.
The first thing that he taught me was to stop and pop, shoot short shots.
Calvin probably stops quicker than any player I've ever seen when he makes a move and gets the shot off so quick.
And I just relaxed, learned how to shoot short jumpers.
The Rockets have the numbers. If Francis continues to push, he'll pull up and hit the Calvin Murphy pull-up jumper.
Oh, he stopped and popped. Give it to me. He stopped and popped. That's the kind of shot I'm talking about right there.
Murph, he has a flick when he shoots the ball. He flicks it, he gets it to say, come here, young fella. This is my J. Flick it like that real fast. The majority of the time, he just wants you to see the dead swan that he calls it, that his hands are always like this.
Calvin Murphy! That is absolutely astounding shooting by this guy.
I can tell you one thing, I don't think that I can put the ball up as much as he did.
Calvin is that type of a shooter. He can shoot him from just inside that three-point line and in. But yet, when he shoots the ball, he shoots it with the proper form.
Calvin, talking about different things that he did.
Calvin Murphy. Now Calvin Murphy has his own show going right now.
Certain gyms we walk in, man, tonight I feel like I would have had 50 if I was playing. So we go to Seattle. We're playing in Seattle. I come on to have 18, 19 points in the first quarter.
Francis, he'll pull up for the three. Great extension, splash. Wow, this might be the night for Steve Francis.
He pulls me to the side and says, I guess you're going for that 50. So, I mean, he's definitely an inspiration to me.
Francis, up the escalator, he slams it to himself.
Showtime, showtime.
You know, the charisma and the pizzazz. And he's not, you know, afraid to say anything. He's not going to walk away from anything. And I definitely think that, you know, he's one of the guys who, you know, a lot of people should know about. He's a Hall of Fame.
Steve says he often goes one-on-one with Calvin during practice and says he still has some game. He hopes to emulate Murphy's success in Houston, and he's off to a pretty good start. In 1971, Calvin was named to the NBA's All-Rookie team. And nearly 30 years later, Francis was the Schick Co-Rookie of the Year, along with Chicago's Elton Brand. Up next, we look back at the Hall of Fame career of Calvin Murphy.
You know, I think if somebody didn't know anything about him, they'd just say, yeah, a guy 5'10", probably 5'9", isn't going to have a chance to make it in this league. But, you know, he really had that motivation all the time.
Calvin Murphy with another steal. Look at that little man run. He's knocked to the floor and there's no foul. That's Murphy.
When it came to basketball, you know, everybody out there were men. I didn't care how tall they were. So I equated the fact that I was 5'9.5" out there on the court. This was supposed to be my game.
Calvin Murphy, look at that little guy.
What a tough shot that was. That's unreal.
Before he took up basketball, Calvin Murphy had a much more unlikely passion, baton twirling. He twirled well enough to win a national championship. But Calvin decided his future was in basketball, an opinion not many others shared because of his height. Few expected Calvin to make it in the NBA. Well, he not only made it, he became an all-star. And today he uses his story as an inspiration to kids.
You know, when I was coming along and I was your age, they told me I would never, ever, ever be able to play professional basketball because I was too short.
Calvin Murphy, what a tough shot that was. That's unreal.
And I wanted to be one day to be out here on this court with professional athletes.
Calvin Murphy, and watch him go now, will you? Well, this little guy can do it.
I believed in myself. I always gave it my best shot. I don't care who I played against. I don't care how good they were supposed to be. They had to be twice that to beat me. Professional basketball player from 8 years old. And I can remember getting on the train in Norwalk, Connecticut, and 40 minutes I was at the old Madison Square Garden. I would just spend hours and hours watching the players and go home and try to emulate. And I knew that if I was given the opportunity, that I would make it. Now, the key was given the opportunity.
Calvin's first opportunity to prove himself came at Niagara University, where he was an All-American under Coach Frank Layden.
Calvin Murphy of Niagara University, only 5'10", was widely acclaimed as much for his clever ball handling as for his passing and sensational marksmanship.
I realized right away that he played at an absolutely different level than the rest of college basketball players when he scored 68 points against Syracuse. I mean, we're not talking about, you know, chopped liver here. We're Syracuse.
I shot a lot.
In 1970, Murphy was drafted by the Rockets, but doubts about his size made him a second-round pick.
It killed me. It killed me to think that people were so narrow-minded that they were so concerned about size and not talent. But, you know, everything's about motivation. And that truly motivated me because I wanted to show the so-called experts that I could make it in what they call the land of the giants. It worked.
Calvin wasted no time silencing all the doubters. He used his speed and outside shooting to become one of the league's most dangerous scorers and averaged 20 more points in 5 different seasons.
Murphy, 6 seconds on the shot clock. Tough shot.
You know, I think if somebody didn't know anything about him, they'd just say, yeah, a guy 5'10", probably 5'9", isn't going to have a chance to make it in this league. But, you know, he really had that motivation all the time.
Calvin Murphy with another steal. Look at that little man run. He's knocked to the floor and there's no foul. That's Murphy. A little contact for Murph, but he makes the play, and Murphy now has whacked in 16 points.
Yeah, I felt that I had a lot to prove when I was on that floor, and I was not going to be denied. So I basically had the chip on my shoulder, the Napoleonic complex, or whatever you want to call it. And if you were going to challenge my manhood, you were going to have a hard time with Calvin Murphy.
Calvin would spend his entire NBA career with the Rockets, as did his teammate, Rudy Tomjanovich. The two were drafted in the same season, and they formed an immediate bond.
We roomed together midway through our rookie season. And that first night that I was with him, TV signed off, and he said, "You mind if I play some music?" So I figured, yeah, 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe Smokey Robinson or The Stylistics, something kind of soft and mellow. And at that time, he puts on James Brown,
What's happening, everybody?
And to me, that epitomizes Calvin.
On the court, nothing epitomized Calvin more than free throw shooting. He was always among the league leaders.
Here's a man you never want to send to the free throw line if you're the other team.
Calvin Murphy, second in the NBA in free throw percentage. Only Rick Barry is better.
I enjoyed that 10 seconds. That was my time to shine. Now, when I got into the NBA, I didn't know how long I was going to be there. I didn't know what my longevity was, but I wanted to be able to leave the league with them saying Calvin Murphy played here.
He came in averaging 27.5 points, and he has a free throw string he has yet to miss this year.
In 1981, Murphy took aim at the league record for consecutive free throws, and with every shot, the pressure grew.
We all have a gift of gab. I can tell you that I'm not afraid of Muhammad Ali, but I wouldn't fight him. And, and when you come to getting on that foul line, you have a chance to make history, all of a sudden that basket starts to shrink.
In fact, the one that tied the record rolled around the iron about 5 or 6 times, and I thought it was coming out, and I thought, man.
Calvin set a new record by making 78 consecutive free throws. It was one more credential for a future Hall of Famer.
Can you believe that anybody would honor Calvin Murphy? Who is Calvin Murphy? I mean, the guy hit a few jump shots.
Wait.
Today, Murphy's jersey hangs in the rafters, and he remains with the Rockets as a broadcaster, where he continues to display his unique style and personality.
Calvin Murphy living La Vida Loca.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Shoot the ball! Shoot the ball! Shoot the ball!
A double!
Two savages! Give me some mustard! Oh my goodness! Did you see him walk that dog? Oh, I'm just so funny.
Calvin Murphy made his mark as one of the NBA's greatest little men, but he never wanted his career to be defined by size alone.
I wanted to be in the game and come out of the game as an NBA basketball player, not a small player, not a black NBA player, not a good-looking NBA player, but an NBA player. And when youngsters see me on the street and they say, "Hey, there's Calvin Murphy," you feel good about being who you are and what you did for the game.
Though listed at 5'9", Calvin did have a secret way of standing a little taller. He would wear 9 or 10 pairs of socks to give him an extra inch or two. Now, how he managed to fit his shoes on, well, that's another story, which we don't have time to get into. The bottom line is Calvin overcame his lack of size to become one of the NBA's best guards. Up next, we'll look at some others who were vertically challenged, but still made a large impact in history. First, some musical history in our vintage vinyl. At 5'9", Calvin Murphy was small for the NBA, but there have been some other players that Calvin can actually look down on. As we log on to NBA.com, we see that the shortest player in NBA history, 5'3", Tyrone Muggsy Bogues. And while we're on the net, we should see what we come up when we search for short people. Okay, Martin Short, no. Purvis Short, he starred for the Warriors, but he was 6'7", so not exactly what we're looking for. Here we go, history's famous short people. We'll start off back in the 18th century with the 5'6" French general Napoleon Bonaparte, one of history's great military commanders, and so famously petite, they even named a complex after him, that Napoleonic complex, not to mention a tasty dessert. There was New York City's feisty mayor, Fiorello LaGuardia, nicknamed the Little Flower. He ran the city from 1934 to 1945, instituted many reforms, and even read the Sunday comics on the radio during a newspaper strike. From the movie world, Mickey Rooney, who rose to fame in the 30s in the Andy Hardy series and was still on stage more than 60 years later. He stands just 5'3", which he made a point of in his autobiography called Life is Too Short. Then there's Eddie Gaedel. Don't recognize the name? That's because his baseball career lasted just one at-bat. Gaedel was a 3'7" midget, inserted in a game as a stunt by St. Louis Browns owner Bill Veeck in 1951. Eddie walked, by the way. One of the great female writers of the 19th century was Louisa May Alcott. Now, we're not sure exactly how tall she was, but she makes a list by virtue of her most famous novel, the classic Little Women. And Randy Newman, public enemy number one among little folks, after his hit single Short People, which included lines like, "Short people got no reason to live." Randy pointed out that he was just kidding, of course. Of course, the word short is really a relative term. At 5'9", Calvin Murphy may have been considered small for the NBA, but everywhere else, Calvin blends in with the crowd. In the 1970s, giants like Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Artis Gilmore roamed the NBA landscape. But down below the rim, a pint-sized pioneer named Calvin Murphy was forging a place for the little man. He was a 5'9" dynamo who made up for his lack of size with speed, hustle, and heart. And Calvin is in the spotlight this week on Vintage NBA.
2 seconds, 1 second, West throws it up, he makes it! Now there's a steal by Bird, underneath the DJ, lays it in! Oh, a spectacular move by Michael Jordan!
Yes, basketball has changed. It's always been a great game, but now it has a new spirit.
He dunks like Dr. J.
He might be the new Iceman.
The modern day Wilt Chamberlain.
He looked like Magic Johnson.
The future has arrived.
You are watching what greatness is all about.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Vintage NBA. I'm Robin Roberts. While shorter players have become commonplace in today's NBA, it was Calvin Murphy who blazed the trail for the little guy, and this week we'll have his story. During his 13-year career, Calvin rose above all expectations and became a hero in Houston, where he was nicknamed the Pocket Rocket. These days, the Rockets have another dynamic guard who's ready to lead them into the future. He's their young star, Steve Francis. And this week, Steve is in the chair with his take on Calvin Murphy.
First, we want everybody to see, the pictures of the Murphster. And on the back, they have different heights. So back here, it says 5'9", 165. And on this side, it says 5'10", 165. But with an afro like that, a mustache like that, and a jump shot that he had, nobody could tell him anything.
Calvin Murphy, he may be at 5'9", the best 5'9" player to ever play this game.
Number 23. That was the number that I wore in college, and I'm always ragging on him about wearing that number. But when I see that number hanging from the banners, it's just like, instant offense.
There's Murphy trying to shake inside.
That's their best bet. Go to the little guy and let him go one-on-one or take whatever he can get.
I mean, Calvin Murphy is, Mr. Rocket. So when I seen the number 23 up there, I respected it 100%.
Murphy, just spectacular.
Calvin's personality is one that, he should be on TV. He's Hollywood.
Spring is here when Calvin Murphy is in the arena. Man, don't fiddle with that knob.
The suits that he wear are unique. Definitely old school, 70s, when he was, the man. So he's keeping the flavor, and he definitely has a lot of style.
That's the kind of suit when you walk in a room, you just start swaying back and forth. You're getting very sleepy.
He got waves in his hair. He got the little M in the front of his head for his headline, but, ain't nothing wrong with that.
Here, Matt. You want to wear it? Thank you.
Drafted number 2 in 1970, similar to me. When I first got here, Calvin was definitely, the first guy to pull me over and say, hey, if you want to be a good point guard or a good leader in this league, there's certain things that you need to do.
Steve Francis in the open court. Rockets have the numbers.
Boy, that woke this crowd up. I'm officially the president of the Steve Francis Fan Club.
The first thing that he taught me was to stop and pop, shoot short shots.
Calvin probably stops quicker than any player I've ever seen when he makes a move and gets the shot off so quick.
And I just relaxed, learned how to shoot short jumpers.
The Rockets have the numbers. If Francis continues to push, he'll pull up and hit the Calvin Murphy pull-up jumper.
Oh, he stopped and popped. Give it to me. He stopped and popped. That's the kind of shot I'm talking about right there.
Murph, I mean, he has a flick when he shoots the ball. He flicks it, he gets it, he says, come here, young fella.
Overton looking inside for Gervin. They're going to be going to ice a lot more of this game. Oh, he's heating up early, too. There's nothing cold about the Iceman tonight. That's 6 points. 12-12, another tie. 5 ties already.
See, Del Harris, he might have to switch his defense if Ice keeps it up. He can put Reed on him, or he can bring Calvin Garrett in.
Little C, the Mighty Mike. Murphy with 4. The Rockets with another 2-point lead. Going right back to the ice one more time into Reggie Johnson. Paultz giving Reed some help. Johnson puts it up off the glass and he's fouled. Boy, it's hot and heavy in the early going. We could be in for a barn burner here if these two teams continue this way for 48 minutes. Calvin Murphy with the jumper from the side. Murphy cans it for 2. For Murph, 6 points. The Rockets back up by 1. John, if this game continues like this through 4 quarters, everybody's going to be pretty well spent in this place.
Well, the key factor has been the bench for the Spurs thus far in this series.
Well, what a great pass by George Gervin. Now, you saw the Rockets double-team Gervin. He just waited for Johnson to clear up the alley.
Right, well, Moses wanted him to pass the ball. That's why he doubled up. When that happens, the weak side has to help.
Murphy and Malone playing pitch and catch. Oh, Murphy with a great shot. Silas got his hand on the ball. Murphy went ahead and shot it in anyway. The Rockets up again by 1 point. This thing is seesawed back and forth since the opening tip-off. 2:55 to play in the first quarter. Inside to Gervin. It's out of bounds. Houston's ball. Tommy Henderson, Murphy in the backcourt. Henderson running the offense. Murphy off the glass for 2. Murph, boy, he's red hot. 10 points for Calvin. He remains red hot. He's on a streak right now.
Calvin hit his last 3 shots. The Rockets have 8 more shots than the Spurs.
Oberding not looking for the ball from Silas, and they throw it away. The Rockets now, with a bucket here, could go up by 5 points. And this is what Dell wanted to do, is get that lead early.
Well, they were arguing a little there. Oberding was telling Silas, don't throw the ball to me. Get it into Gervin. Run the play like you're supposed to. That's good for the Rockets.
Tommy Henderson to Murphy. He's automatic. Calvin Murphy, 12 points.
I would say Silas will be coming out because he's eating his lunch. Calvin's on a hot string.
28-23. And I'm sure we're going to see Johnny Moore here in a minute. He's been the only one to really do anything with Murphy the entire series.
He plays him well. He's got real good quickness.
That foul on Tommy Henderson. Tommy was beat.
The penetration
right,
here.
He was beat.
Right, he's beat. Let Gervin take that shot and make it. Don't come down.
That's 8 points for George Gervin. Rockets by 3.
Now, Moses has been asleep. The ball hasn't gone into him, and he's been setting some screens. He only has 4 points.
They're looking for Murphy almost exclusively in the early going, and of course the reason is he's so hot. Now they go into another of the M&M boys. Moses Malone fakes his man up in the air. Oberding called with a foul. Oberding doesn't like it, but Earl Strom said you slap the big guy on the head, and that's going to cost you. That's 2 fouls on Oberding. Ball hits the front of the rim. Paul Griffin now will check in for Oberding. Makes them both. The Rockets up by 5, 30-25. 1:40 left to go now. Paultz is going to guard Griffin. The Iceman taking it in. Foul called on Tommy Henderson. And Johnny Moore, there you see him. The youngster out of the University of Texas. And boy, he's been a pleasant surprise for Stan Albeck this season because he plays great defense. He gets the ball to the Iceman, and that's what they want him to do. And he pushes the fast break up the court real fast. Again, a 3-point Houston lead.
I talked to Stan before the game, and he said he's very pleased the way he's playing.
Irvin will be on Henderson. Of course, Johnny Moore will be trying to slow down Murphy. Calvin with 12 points in the first quarter. Going into Malone, working over Griffin. Air ball, no good. Back out to Malone. He's going to take it in on ice. Won't go. Look at that rebound by Willoughby, but he can't control it.
I'll tell you, Griffin has Malone thinking.
Yes, he does. He played him well in the fourth quarter in Houston last Wednesday. Murphy on Moore. Henderson will be trying to stay with Gervin. Gervin puts it up. He's fouled, and he's got a chance to tie the game with a 3-point play. Boy, Gervin is really looking for the bucket tonight.
Well, watch, he goes baseline here, and Billy picks him up. Let's see if Billy moves. Yeah, he moved his feet. Good call.
And presto, this game is tied. That Rocket 5-point lead did not last very long.
Gervin has 13 points in the first quarter.
And Murphy has 12. Murphy has been able to counter Gervin. Oh, look at Calvin Murphy. Oh, my. 14 points for Murphy.
So Calvin Murphy is lighting it up in the early going. And the Rockets really needed him because center Moses Malone wasn't quite himself that day. Moses missed the morning shoot-around with the flu. So Calvin, who'd been the sixth man all year, moved into the starting lineup. And he would carry the Rockets on his back in Game 7. We'll return to the game in a moment, right after you ponder this about 1981. Decades ago, sports fans in Houston were captivated by Earl Campbell and the Oilers, as well as Nolan Ryan and the Astros. The Rockets had been more of an afterthought. That is until 1981. They won the city's heart with their playoff run. But one of their biggest tests was trying to beat the Spurs in Game 7 in front of a wild crowd in San Antonio. Houston trails by 7 as we pick up the action in the second quarter.
Mike Dunleavy checks in. There you see Michael. This will be his first action of the night.
Moore is doing a good job defensively on Calvin. Calvin only scored 2 points since Moore came in.
That's been the thing. That's been the big reason, the big factor for the Spurs getting the lead away from Houston. Murphy has not been able to get the shot off. Willoughby skies way high for the jump shot over Oberding. Boy, the son of Flubber got up then, didn't he? That's the first points of the night for Willoughby. Willoughby will be guarding Oberding. There you see Dunleavy trying to guard Gervin, and he's immediately called for his first foul. Mike just checks in. He gets foul number 1. I'll tell you why, that's not a good matchup.
I'll tell you why it's hard to guard him. He's 6'8", Mike's 6'3". Look, they throw it high. You know, there's a little contact there, but I don't think that's a foul.
Murphy back into Malone. Malone going to shoot the jump shot off the glass. It's short. Moses can't hit anything from outside. Going to have to get the ball in closer to the bucket. He's not effective outside like that. 6:47 left to play. Gervin got it in where he likes it. Won't go down, but Corzine with a tip in.
Now Moses helped out there. There's nothing he can do. He got by Dunleavy. Gervin put it up. It was a little bit too hard. Corzine come across, just laid it up and in. Offensive rebound.
Steal, fast break, Griffin. Well, Del Harris is hot because he thought Murphy was tripped, and I thought he was too.
Well, there's the foul someplace along there. Moses got fouled, or Calvin.
Calvin Murphy puts it up, and he's fouled. Rockets with a chance for a 3-point play, and you think Murphy wasn't hot. He was taking that all the way to the bucket on his own. For Murphy, 18 points. And more importantly, on that last play, Murphy tripped. No call. Moore picked up the loose ball and got it for the fast break. I'll tell you what now, Moore is really doing the job. Murphy with a 3-point play, and that keeps the Rockets right in there, down by 6. 6 minutes left to play in the first half. Murphy on Moore. Looking in for Gervin. He's got it at the baseline. Won't go. Malone wanted to go to Murphy on the fast break and wisely decided to slow it up to Dunleavy. The Rockets now can get within 4.
The Rockets going to have to play a little bit better defense and have these guys miss shots just like they did that time and have Moses defensive rebound.
Dunleavy directing traffic. Murphy working on Moore. Over to Willoughby. Willoughby puts it up. It won't go, but he gets his own rebound, and he can't control it. Willoughby was still up there to get the offensive board, so he had a chance to go back up, but he couldn't control it. And now for the first time tonight, we see Ron Brewer, number 10, checking in, and he will replace George Gervin, so they're going to give Gervin a breather. This is about the longest we've seen Gervin play at one stretch.
Well, in an important game like this, Albeck doesn't want to take any chances. He wants to go with his star.
Dave Corzine inside to Griffin for 2. Great execution by the Spurs. 48-40. San Antonio up by 8. 5 minutes to play in the first half. Billy Pauls prepares to check in for Houston. Murphy from the corner. And the Murph stays red hot. 21 points for Calvin Murphy in the first half.
Now the Rockets have to play defense. They got to stop it. The Rockets can score enough of points offensively, but they have to play the defense. Knock these guys down. See, they're scoring every single time they handle the ball.
Griffin to Brewer. Brewer's first 2 points of the night.
That's why they're shooting over 60%.
They've got a lot of close-in shots, a lot of fast breaks. Dunleavy, foul by Brewer. Aretha Franklin co-hosts with Dionne Warwick on Solid Gold for the week's top 10 hits. Airs Clean, Johnny Mathis, and Tierra. Tomorrow night at 6 o'clock here on KHTV, Channel 39. Right now, the Spurs with an 8-point lead, and it's important, I think, John, here that the Rockets stay at least within 6. You don't want to, or at least 8 points. You don't want the Spurs to run off a bunch of points here in the final moments of the first half.
That's right. The Rockets are only shooting 38%. The only guy that's really shooting is Calvin Murphy.
Reed looking inside from Malone. Got it inside where he likes it. He puts it up for the dunk shot. Power move by Moses Malone. Now, if he can get it in there deep in the paint like that, he's going to be more effective. 3 minutes to play. 54-48 Spurs.
That always gets an offensive player off when they can dunk the ball.
Oberding to Corzine. Takes it in over Reed. Moore with a tip. Won't go. Tipped up again. San Antonio just completely controlling the backboard.
They're on the offensive boards extremely well.
That was Corzine or Griffin. I don't know who they gave it to.
I don't know. It looked like Griffin.
Give it to Griffin. That's 8 points for Paul. Another 8-point Spur lead. Calvin Murphy puts up a prayer. Ho, ho, ho! Murphy goes to the line to try to make it a 3-point play.
Great shot by Calvin.
For Calvin, that's 23 points. Now, this just defies the law of gravity right here, John. How does the little guy do it?
Boy, he got that contact, just hung in the air, kept his eyes right on the rim, threw the ball in.
Calvin Murphy with 24 points. He's been keeping the Rockets in this one. 56-51. Rockets down by 5. 2:20 to play in the first half. Oberding working on Malone. Going to take him to the baseline. A lot of contact. Murphy knocks it away. Reed picks it up. The Rockets can get to within 3 right here with a bucket. Dunleavy to Reed.
Now, Bobby Joe Reed hasn't been taking many shots.
Billy Pauls has Murphy. Murphy going to take it inside for 2. Murphy with 26 points. 56-53. 1:53 to play in the first half. Timeout called by Stan Albeck and San Antonio. So the Spurs want to talk it over. And, John, that was a big spurt by the Houston Rockets right there.
Well, I'll tell you, the only guy who's keeping him in the ball game is Calvin.
Clearly, Calvin was the Rockets' go-to guy in that game. He came out hot right from the opening tip and never did cool off. Bill Worrell, who's currently Murphy's broadcast partner, has been calling Rocket games for 20 years. And that Game 7 in San Antonio will always stand out in his mind.
It was one of the greatest games I ever saw. And in fact, Del Harris said, look, Billy Whopper, Billy Pauls, the Whopper, was the big man. He said he's called off all plays. Del said, Whop, you set the pick at the top of the key. Murph, you get the shot off.
That was the greatest In the pros I had, because there was just no way I was going to be able to be guarded. I knew the world was in trouble. When I got those first couple of shots and that ball left my finger and the rotation was perfect, I said, I'm getting ready to hurt somebody's feelings. I could have had 60 if time would have permitted.
Yes, Calvin Murphy was in the zone that night, and the Rockets as a team were fired up for that series, especially after they heard quotes that the Spurs were relieved to face Houston instead of the Lakers in the second round. The underdog Rockets pushed San Antonio to the limit, but in Game 7, they find themselves down by 9 points as we pick up the action in the third quarter.
Balls to Henderson. Tommy back out to Reed. Bobby Joe Reed puts it up. It won't go. Paul's with the rebound. Won't go again. And the Spurs continue to pull the boards, control them.
As we mentioned, the Rockets only shot 43%. They're ice cold again.
Reed. Bring it down on the fast break. He's got Murphy. From 22 feet, Calvin cans it. 30 points for Calvin Murphy. 66-59, 7 points, San Antonio lead. We're just starting the second half from Hemisphere Arena. Overding throws it out of bounds. Pretty good defense by Murphy on Silas right there.
Yeah, he's playing the passing lane.
The Rockets now can get to within 5 with a bucket here. Henderson pushes it up court. Taking it into Murphy, puts it up for 2. Murphy with 32 points. Calvin 2 for 2 in the second half. And Stan Albeck wants a timeout. So the Rockets have shot themselves right back in it in the early going.
Billy Paultz was 1 for 6 the first half.
Overton taking it inside the paint. Gervin trying to shoot it over Malone. Malone blocks it. Gets it back to Paultz, and Henderson will have it for Houston. The Rockets can close to within 3 with a basket.
So slow it down and let Malone get underneath.
Murphy with a jump shot for 2. 34 points for Calvin Murphy.
So Silas just can't play him. He's going to have to put something else on him.
Murphy, an absolute scoring machine. 66-63. The Rockets right back in it. Irvin to Reggie Johnson. Puts it up. It won't go. George Johnson with good position. Puts it up, and he's fouled by Malone. Welcome back to crazy Hemisphere Arena in San Antonio. The baseline bums have really given them a boost. Now the Spurs have put in a new lineup, as you see Henderson and Murphy bringing it up to start the final quarter of action for the Rockets.
Bill, the Spurs only had 12 points in that quarter. Great defense by the Rockets. The Rockets had 22.
Passed into Willoughby, back out to Reed. All the way back to Murphy now. Murphy going to take it up off the glass for 2. Calvin Murphy with a great offensive move for 38 points.
Now the playoff record for a Rocket is 40 points held by Calvin Murphy. Now he has 38, so he's a cinch to break his own playoff record.
81-78. The Rockets up by 3. Inside to Reggie Johnson. Goes up, puts it too hard. Griffin with an offensive foul. That's a good call.
This is important right here. If the Rockets can get the Spurs in foul trouble in the fourth quarter, they should be in clover.
For Griffin, that's 3. Reed swings it to Murphy. Murphy working on Moore, gets it back to Reed. And double dribble called on Calvin Murphy. 81-78. Spurs trailing by 3. We've got 11-13 left to play, and this is the final game of the season for one of these two teams.
Now remember, Gervin has not scored.
Corzine is checked into the game at center
since the second quarter.
Corzine swings it to Moore. Inside back to Corzine. Now Corzine had a great fourth quarter in Houston. Reed gets all over the ball. Henderson with a rebound. This lineup in here right now for the Spurs has been pretty successful, John.
Well, we mentioned at the top of the show that the Rockets had to rebound and play defense. They're certainly doing that here in the second half.
Murphy from about 27 feet, nothing but cotton. 40 points for Calvin Murphy to tie his playoff record. 83-78, a 5-point Houston lead.
He's got almost half of the Rocket points. They got 83. He's got 40.
Irvin swings it back out. And Corzine passes it inside to Moore, where he's all alone. Good ball move.
Calvin Gamble there on Corzine. Tried to go up and block the shot, steal it. His man was wide open underneath.
83-80. Reed. swing it back around, looking for Malone. Corzine leaning all over Moses. Bobby Joe Reed from over the top, over Reggie Johnson for two. Big bucket for Bobby Joe. Boy, he's made some big buckets over
Reed. When Reed gets hot, it's usually in the fourth quarter.
9 points, 85-80.
They can use him here.
Griffin off of Murphy's feet. Murphy gets tied up by Paul Griffin.
Excellent play by Calvin, just diving on the floor, just tie it up. Come up with the ball.
Here's a guy who's played almost the entire game. He has 40 points. He's still diving. You think he doesn't want to make the Final Four, John?
You bet.
6:25 left to play, 89-88.
Calvin needs a blow. He's tired.
Hell, it's the most he's played all season, John.
He's exerting a lot of energy out there.
Calvin with 40 points. Inside to Corzine, working on Malone. Blocked by Malone. Great defense on the block. Here comes Tommy Henderson. He's got Murphy on the fast break. Murphy puts it up for two. Great fast break and a great block by Malone to get it started. 6 minutes to play. 91-88. Rockets by 3.
It's a torrid pace out here. The guys are tired.
Boy, it's a torrid pace. It's been a torrid series. What a great series by these two teams. Given no quarter.
Well, a lot of action underneath. Take Calvin's out.
Now they took Calvin out, but if the Rockets hold on, they will have won 3 out of the 4 games here in San Antonio, and San Antonio would have won 2 out of the 3 in Houston.
The Rockets did hold on to win that series and continued their magical run in the conference finals. They defeated the Kansas City Kings and advanced to the NBA Finals. But that's where the ride ended, at the hands of Larry Bird and the Celtics. For Calvin Murphy, that was as close as he would come to an NBA title. Calvin retired 2 years later, but he'll be remembered as a pioneer for the NBA's little guy. But he also stood tall at the free throw line, and we'll have more about that when we return in a moment. All right, there's no doubt that height can be a big factor in basketball, but one place where it makes no difference is at the free throw line. And that's where Calvin Murphy was at his best. Twice he led the league in foul shooting. And in 1981, he set a league record by hitting 78 consecutive free throws. Since then, the record has been broken by Minnesota's Michael Williams, who hit 97 in 93. And while you can't hit them all, some players always seem to be on the mark when they were on the line. Boston's Bill Sharman was one of the best shooters ever from the field or the foul line. He shot 88% from the charity stripe, 6th best in NBA history, and led the league in foul shooting a record 7 times. There was Rick Barry, who perfected his unusual style, the underhanded free throw. Now, it may have looked odd, but it got the job done, as Rick led the league in foul shooting 6 times, and he's still hoping for a chance to teach his method to the Shaq. Larry Bird mastered every phase of the game, and free throw shooting was no exception. Bird is the only player ever to shoot 50% from the field and 90% from the line in the same season, and he always made them in the clutch. Former Cavs point guard Mark Price is the NBA's all-time leader in free throw percentage, hitting over 90% for his career. But which of today's players are automatic when everything is on the line?
2 guys come to my mind right away. That's Jeff Hornacek and Reggie Miller. Those 2 guys, when they get on the line, it's almost money in the bank.
Yeah, I like Reggie Miller. He's sort of like automatic.
John Stockton, a good player that can get to the line. You know that's going to knock down the free throw under any type of situation, whether they're down 101 or whether they're up 1. It doesn't make a difference.
A healthy Tim Hardaway. That's who I would say reminds me a little bit of Calvin Murphy. They didn't play the same, but they had that same swagger. I will go with Jeff Hornacek since he's just a terrific marksman from the line.
Hornacek is automatic. Whenever he steps up to the line, I take the ball out of bounds.
Tell you what, this chair really does get around, doesn't it? Now, if you want to chime in on the subject of free throw shooters or talk about Calvin Murphy himself, just head to NBA.com and drop us an email at Vintage NBA. We're in the history section, where you can also find a biography of Calvin Murphy and read all about his early days as a champion baton twirler. I kid you not. We'll be back with more in just a moment. 30 years after he first joined the Rockets, Calvin Murphy remains a fixture in Houston. He's a team's community services advisor and an analyst on Rocket Telecast. He's also a member of the Hall of Fame. And at his induction, Murphy said he was carrying with him the dreams of all those who have been underdogs in life. Calvin was an underdog himself, but he defied the odds and proved that even the smallest players can make it big in the NBA. That's it for Vintage NBA. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Robin Roberts, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Just happy to know that for 13 years, I gave the city of Houston as well as the Houston Rockets franchise every second that I owed them.